I've been reflecting on a book that I read years ago when I was first questioning traditional relationships and how we're socialized to love others. The book is called The Ship That Sailed into the Living Room by Sonia Johnson. And it's a very interesting read that I highly recommend if you're looking at what is really the undercurrent of relationship dynamics and questioning the way we're handed the approach to love others. One of the major concepts in this book, which is reflected in the title, is about how when we first love another, we lose track of the individual in replace of the relationship. The metaphor, if I can paraphrase it, is about how, imagine two people that fall in love and then they look down the street and they see a ship coming down the street, and it's big and glorious and beautiful, pulls up into their driveway, squeezes into their living room, and they are fixated upon it. They start admiring. This is their relationship, is the metaphor. And as they're admiring it and how it's unlike any other and it's just so glorious and beautiful, they start to look at different aspects, such as, maintaining it through cleaning the deck, and the other person's over picking barnacles off the side of it, and they lose track of each other. They can't see each other through the relationship. And this metaphor, I think, is very profound because we live in a culture that I believe worships relationships. The underlying message you get is to be in a relationship is good, to not be in a relationship is bad, which in reality, sometimes not being in a relationship can be great for working on yourself and your individual process, and then also enhancing your career, your healing process, whatever you need to be working on. And sometimes being in a relationship can be highly dysfunctional and full of drama and so forth. But we continue to get that message that the relationship is really what is important. And I think that the message in the book about losing track of the other person as an individual is part of what causes love to fade. It's part of what causes there to be a kind of rote monotony, losing track of that I-thou contact, that seeing a person for who they really are. And one way that we can, not fall into that trap is to continue to see ourselves and the other person as an individual, not half of a couple. I think that sometimes people might enjoy being seen as I am in a couple, I am part of a couple, but it can be useful to look at yourself and look at other people in relationships as individuals, regardless of how they see themselves, because you can continue to look at what is that individual about and what are they experiencing, and not lose track of any direct connection that you have with that person. One linguistic kind of way of keeping individuality is to, if you are in a relationship, not fall into the trap of the assumed use of we. If it's already established that you're talking about your partner, then we makes sense. But if you just out of the blue start saying, well, we went to blah, 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 or whatever, then the other person might assume that you're talking about your partner. But this use of avoiding the other person's name is symbolic of losing contact with their individuality. So using another person's name, whether you're in a relationship with them or not, it's more of a clear announcement of this person as an individual. Another concept in this book that has stayed with me for a long time is the idea that a lot of times, like the author, she asked various couples, what is it that you like about your partner? What is it that you love? What is it that, keeps you together? And people would say things that they had in common with each other. For example, one couple talked about how they both can't stand people that eat meat, and the author used an example. Well, what if one of them at some point in time gets this incredible craving for a McDonald's hamburger, and then succumbs to this desire, and then, you know, tries to hide the wrapper in the car and hopes that they don't get caught. Because of fear, this can be a lack of acceptance of change. If your bond is based on what you both like or what you both hate, then that can consciously or unconsciously lead to a lack of growth in the individuals in the relationship, because they're afraid that if they change, then they're not going to be loved anymore. If what they both bonded on no longer exists, then where is the connection? And in reality, people are changing and growing all the time, and you don't want to limit yourself out of fear. If you are not going to be loved because you change in some way, that's not a real form of love anyway. It's a very conditional form of love. So I think that a true form of love is to really see the essence of another person and not get so caught up in mutual interests and that kind of thing like that. And so being aware of the tendency for yourself to hold yourself back in ways that might actually enhance your growth can be a way of connecting to your individuality and not falling into some kind of very narrow path that you think is required to remain loved. Continue to grow. A healthy relationship is about growth, always. And if you're not growing, you're not really in a healthy connection, that at least you're not utilizing the relationship in a way that can be healthy and staying connected to your individuality. And if people stay connected to their individuality, they remain more interesting to each other. They're not so dependent upon needing to do entertaining things together or watch movies together or just go on vacations together. You know, a lot of people that are together for a while, if they lose the connection, their fun is dependent upon what they do together, activities and so forth. But if you remain connected to your aliveness, your individual unique identity and who you are, then you radiate a stronger energy that remains vital and interesting to others. You know, whether you have one partner or more partners than that, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just continuing to stay connected to your identity will make you continually interesting and sometimes challenging perhaps, but at least there will be an aliveness there. You won't fall into a roteness that comes with people just going through the motions and repeating old patterns and trying to recapture the past through various activities and, you know, things like that. And it'll also, if you remain connected to yourself and don't compromise who you are, then also the sexual attraction can remain more charged, and there can be more of an excitement there because you're with another person. You're not with some watered down version of who you want that person to be. When you're with another person who is, you know, being themselves, that's exciting. There is an incredible energy there. So I recommend this book, The Ship That Sailed into the Living Room. There's lots of other very interesting and challenging ideas in it. Again, the author is Sonia Johnson. And check it out, and thanks for listening.